Good morning. I'd like to welcome all of you this morning. My name is Wyatt. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a guy in the twilight years of his 20s, wearing a dark button-down polo. Whether you are with us on site or on Zoom, and whether it is your first time here or one of many times, we are glad you are here with us today. We hope that you can stay for coffee or tea and conversation after the service. The chalice lighter in the sanctuary today is Eric. And our chalice lighting words today are by Reverend Michelle Collins. We light this flame for the wisdom that hums beneath thought in our heartbeat, our breath, the subtle flutter that says, "You are still here." We light this chalice to remember resilience begins in the body's quiet language, whispering us along.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear my disembodied voice. My name is Colin Jensen. I use he, him pronouns, and I help with the children's program here at First UU. Today I have a story to share. I love this story because it highlights what plants can teach us about coming back from hard things. So, this is The Curious Garden by Peter Brown. There once was a city without gardens or trees or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. However, there was one boy who loved being outside. Even on drizzly days, while everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. It was on one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working ages ago, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last thing he had expected to find up there. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems, but the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real garden. Most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. The tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Over the next few months, Liam and the curious gardener explored every corner of the railway. After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he'd become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for spring. After 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. Winter had taken its toll on the garden. But thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. The garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. A few plants popped up where they didn't belong. Others mysteriously popped up all at once. But the most surprising thing that popped up were the new gardeners. Many years later, the entire city had blossomed. But of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it all began. The end. Thank you, everyone. Now is usually when our young friends head downstairs. Kiddos, remember that when you take your little candles, your little chalices with you, you take the love of the whole congregation with you too. And we'll sing Go With Wisdom while they head downstairs.
The prelude is Deep River, an American spiritual, performed by Eva.
Our words of invitation today are, "And Yet You Persist" by Reverend Gretchen Haley. Though you have been warned and given plenty of explanations, reasons to do otherwise, you have persisted, to claim a life of joy and justice, to carve out this time, this space, for the renewal of your own heart. Despite all the reasons, the resistance, fighting for your attention, luring you towards fear, you persist to practice gratitude for this day, this life that has been given, this chance to begin again. And so let us gather that we might offer one another courage, strength, healing, hope, and this promise to persist in kindness, persevere in compassion, and prevail in a life that is for more than ourselves. Come, let us worship together. Our hymn for the month of February is "Just as Long as I Have Breath." The third stanza speaks to love, disappointment, and the strength of our heartbeats. In another hymn, Alicia S. Carpenter writes, "Here we have gathered side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside." Here we have gathered on this 22nd day of February. Our beating hearts, individually and collectively, make love and support and endurance not just possible, but powerful and joyful. The second stanza is about vision and truth. Let us sing together, "Just as Long as I Have Breath." It is number 6 in the gray hymnal. The words will be on the screens. You are welcome to stand or remain seated as we lift our voices in song.
My name is Stacy, and there is this big echo on Zoom. My preferred pronoun is she and her. I'm wearing a turquoise polo shirt and floral earrings that were a gift from my daughter. And I'm a member of the Pastoral Care Circle. As a community, we share joy and concerns to keep connected. Slips of paper are available at the greeters table for those in the sanctuary to use for joys and concerns. During the week, you may send your joys and concerns by email to pastoralcare@springfielduu.org or by leaving a voicemail on the church phone 417-883-3922. If you're on Zoom, please use the chat box now for sharing your joys and concerns. All of our joys and concerns will be included in the members' email on to today. We honor each joy or concern with a lighted candle a symbol of the love we as a community offer for each other, for each of our joys and concerns. This morning, Eric will be lighting the candles. And now, as we begin this time of sharing, know that though we are in multiple physical spaces, we are together in beloved community. To begin, we hold in love all of us, those present and those absent. We light a candle for our church community. Millie, could you check the pulpit for joys and concerns?
We do have one. It says Melissa Stone for Catherine Terp. Please still pray for my expecting niece. Pray her baby comes to us in good health and Catherine is healed. We light a candle of concern.
Thank you, Millie. I'm checking the chat box. I don't see any concerns or joys in the chat box. We honor the complex and heartbreaking struggles of our world. We light a candle for all who are impacted. In closing, for those joys and concerns that remain unspoken in our hearts, we light a candle. May we hold each of these joys and concerns in our hearts and minds. May our community of love ease sorrow and boost celebration. Let us now join together in 1 minute of shared silence, followed by spirit light.
The week of February 22nd in UU history, John Murray Forbes was born in Bordeaux, France on February 23rd, 1813. His father was a wealthy merchant, and John learned the trade. He invested in land, iron, steam, and railroads, and served as president of the Michigan Central Railroad. After the assassination of Elijah Lovejoy, Murray became an abolitionist and provided equal pay to freed slaves. He supported Abraham Lincoln's candidacy for president and was counsel to him during the Civil War. Forbes also fought for the rights of Irish immigrants. The Forbes family intermarried several times with the Emersons. John Murray Forbes used his great wealth for civic betterment. He was a member of First Parish Unitarian of Milton, Massachusetts, and gave the land for its parsonage. John Murray Forbes died in October of 1898 at the age of 85. Offering our gifts to support the work of building inclusive and just communities is one of the many ways that we live into justice and equity together. Some of us have much to give, and some have little, and together it is enough. We are enough to work together for a world where every human can live into their best and most authentic self. This week is the fourth Sunday, Donate the Basket offering. The Social Action Committee suggests that we concentrate this year on food insecurity in our community. This will supplement the contributions of our members make by supporting Crosslines, the Crisis Cold Weather Shelter, Ecclesia, distributing food items at various community events, and the gardens planned by our Environmental Action Group. The Social Action Committee will research organizations that are helping with food insecurity and, like last year, ask the congregation to vote in the fall on a recipient for this year's offerings. All checks with D the B in the memo line and cash in a labeled envelope will go toward this fund. If electronic giving is your preferred method, or if you are on Zoom, virtual giving options are available via our website, springfielduu.org, with a D the B option there also. The offertory is How Can I Keep From Singing, an American folk song with music by Frederick Chopin and Robert Lowry, arranged by John Prescott, performed by the choir.
Good morning. I am Reverend Michelle Scott Huffman. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the minister here at First UU, and glad to be here with you today. I'm a middle-aged, pale-skinned woman with short, spiky, salt and pepper hair, and wearing gray and a maroon jacket today. So this month we have been talking a lot about resilience, what it is and what it's not, how we build it, how we call on it when it's needed. But for some of us, our current or even recent experience of grief may have us doubting that resilience is real at times. So today let's talk about grief and what it makes possible when it comes to our resilience. We often think and talk about grief as this tunnel that we go into. It's a dark and narrow passage that we enter on one side and we hope to exit on the other, preferably the old version of ourselves. But as researcher Lucy Hone discovered in the wake of an unthinkable tragedy, grief isn't a tunnel, it's a fork in the road. When the unthinkable happens, the path that we're on simply ends. We're forced onto a new trajectory. The question isn't whether we will feel pain, that is a given, but what we will do with the shards of our lives once they've been broken. Today, I wonder if we can imagine that our grief is more than a burden to bear. If we can imagine that it might be a catalyst for a specific kind of spiritual and psychological strength, the one we've been referring to this month as resilience. If you've done much study around grief, or you've picked up a flyer at a grief group, or in a hospital waiting room, or perhaps in a funeral home, you've likely come across the work of Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who identified and referred to what she called the 5 stages of grief. For many years, we have used those stages of grief as a sort of a roadmap or maybe even a staircase that suggested that we completed one step and then we moved on to the next step and then the next one and the next one. But any of us with any kind of life experience knows that it doesn't work that way. And if it is a staircase, we end up falling back to the bottom quite often. It is helpful, though, to give language to those stages, and so I will share with you what they are. The first one that Kubler-Ross identified was what she calls denial. This can't be happening. It's a protective mechanism where our brains buffer the shock by simply resisting the new reality. Maybe tomorrow I will wake up and find that this has only been a dream. This can't be happening. And then there's the anger. When the numbness wears off, we look for someone or something to blame. We feel the injustice of the loss. And there's bargaining, the if-only stage, where we try to negotiate with God or the universe or the people around us to undo what has been done, or if that can't be done, to somehow mitigate the way that it is reverberating through our lives. And then there's depression, the heavy realization of the magnitude of the loss. It's the deep sadness and the what's the point that can leave us paralyzed. And then acceptance. Reaching a point of peace where we acknowledge our new reality. Dr. Kubler-Ross eventually clarified that grief is rarely linear. It's more of a curve, and a cyclical one at that. I think we have an image for the moments that the screen might be working of the change curve that comes from Dr. Kubler-Ross's work. So The reality is that we can move all over this curve from time to time, that we don't actually ever complete denial, that we don't complete anger or even acceptance. We might revisit it years later when a certain song plays, when a memory pops up. One of the beautiful things about social media is that it gives us all of these memories. And one of the most crushing things about social media is that it gives us all of these memories that pop up when we least expect them. Since the 1980s, this map that Kubler-Ross gave us has evolved into the change curve that we showed there. And it's also not just about death anymore. So when we think about the experience of grief in our lives, we experience grief when there's any kind of a change, from something that we thought was going to happen a particular way, when our children grow up and become someone that we didn't know they were going to be, and we may fully love and support exactly what and who they have become. And also, there is a period of grief, of letting go of the thing that we thought was going to happen. So it's any major life disruption that can put us on this change curve. And there are two vital stops on the modern curve that we showed that weren't on the previous one. And they are experimentation. This experimentation happens after that initial dip of depression. It's the moment that you start trying on new ways to handle the change. You're testing different strategies, behaviors, or attitudes. It's a trial and error phase of learning how to live again. And then there is the decision and integration phase. It's the conscious choice to commit to a new way of thinking. Integration isn't just getting over something, it's the moment the change becomes a part of your new reality, where you reconcile the past with the present and find a renewed sense of control. And so this new understanding of this curve, where we might circle back into different places, but it's a more gentle movement from place to place, helps us to understand that wherever we find ourselves on that curve, we're not failing, that we're just processing. I often talk to people about grief as a lump of clay that is inside you, and it never goes away. And so each time something comes up in your life that causes you to maybe go back to denial or anger or whatever those earlier stages are, that it's just an opportunity to take out that lump of clay and to squish it around and to work with it and to see what you're going to shape it into now. And it continues to live with us through all of our lives. It's messy. It's the necessary work of reassessing and reinventing and recreating ourselves over and over again that's a part of this experience of experimentation and decision. And then integration happens when we stop trying to revert to the previous state and instead commit to a new reality. So this month we've talked about lots of different definitions and understandings of resilience, and George Bonanno offers yet another one when he differentiates between recovery and resilience. He says that recovery is a trajectory where your functioning drops significantly for months or years before slowly returning to normal. Resilience is the ability to maintain a stable equilibrium, not the ability to stay in one place, to be stagnant, to go back to where you started, but the ability to maintain equilibrium, because the likelihood that something else is going to come along and cause grief in our lives is nearly 100%. But it turns out that humans are much tougher than we give ourselves credit for. 50 to 60% of people are exposed to traumatic stress while only about 5 to 10% develop chronic PTSD. The vast majority of us are able to access the sort of natural resilience that is just a part of who we are. Remember, though, that resilience is not the absence of pain. Resilient people still have sleepless nights. They still have emotional pangs, pain of memories that come up. The difference is that they remain active participants in their own lives. They allow themselves to feel the breaking, but they don't let the breaking become a permanent brokenness. And so if resilience is natural and common, how do we tap into it? Lucy Hone suggests that we must move from being passive victims of our emotions to being active participants in our grief. She offers 3 strategies that align deeply with this practice. The first is to accept the good. She calls benefit finding, not toxic positivity. It's the intentional choice to not lose what you have to what you have lost. I want to say that again. The intentional choice to not lose what you have to what you have lost. It's looking at the people who are still here around us, the friends who brought the meal, the sun that still rose the next morning. She talks then about hunting for positive emotions. Research shows that positive emotions like gratitude, interest, and humor act as a buffer against depression and grief. She says we have to top up our positive emotion piggy banks. Whether it's a walk through the woods or a podcast that makes you laugh, a song that's particularly fun to listen to, these are the fuel that we need for our survival. It amazes me how many times I can be driving through town, bothered or disturbed about something, and so in my head. And I have a moment where I'm like, I could turn on music. And it literally changes everything. And I think, why didn't I do that 20 minutes ago? Because there are these things that we can do to hunt for positive emotions within us and around us. And then she also says that ritual and routine are important. She says that we need small ways to draw what we have lost into our present. If we've lost a loved one, maybe it's baking the cake that they loved or wearing their old flannel shirt. But if it's something else, there are also rituals that we can do. If there's the grief of a job change, an unexpected move that happens in your life, just going through the memories from the place before and trying to sort of reroute the brain synapses that connect those with a traumatic, sad, hurtful memory, and trying to replace those things with the positive and the good, the ways that you still carry the people and places and things with you as you go throughout your life. These rituals return a sense of control to us when the world feels chaotic. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross had a protege who co-wrote her final book with her. The book was On Grief and Grieving, Finding the Meaning of Grief Through the 5 Stages of Loss. His name is David Kessler. And he continued to refine and reimagine her work after her death. And he went on to co-author a book called You Can Heal Your Heart with Louise Hay. I want to share the final words of that book as we begin to wrap up this conversation today. They wrote, "Life has a meaning all its own. It often doesn't turn out the way you expected, but it has a rhythm unto itself. It's full of twists and turns that often disrupt your peace of mind. Life brings you changes and challenges that you never hoped to experience. Once you allow yourself to feel the pain of those changes, accept the loss, and work through the grief, you'll learn the truth about life. no matter what happens to you, you can heal your heart. In my doctoral work, which I'll defend in 11 days, I have used, don't clap yet. I have used psychosocial and sociological development theories in conversation with contemporary theologians to identify a framework for faith development in young adults that provides space and safety for deconstruction of inherited belief systems and for constructing a belief system that is authentic and liberative. We talk about the steps in that process being belonging, breaking, building, and becoming. As we've talked this month about resilience, I've come to see how seamlessly that framework translates to the work of building resilience throughout our lives at any age and stage. So in the context of today's message, the belonging happens in the community where you find that you're able to be yourself, carrying whatever it is that you're carrying and not having to leave any parts of yourself outside. The change that causes our grief, whether it's a death or some other kind of loss, is the breaking. In Kubler-Ross's framework, experimentation and decision are the building blocks, and integration is the becoming. And I would argue that our lives are one continuous experience of becoming. Over and over again, we are becoming something and someone new. We are each the product of all that has happened in our lives and the ways that those things have been integrated. Grief makes possible a version of you that knows how to survive. It makes possible a heart that can hold both deep sorrow and genuine laughter at the same time. So if you remember nothing else that I've said today, remember that you are not failing if you are struggling. You're on the curve. And on that curve, there are multiple pathways to your new equilibrium. May that integration always lead to wider love, deeper joy, and greater freedom. I'll close with these lyrics from Canadian folk group the Waylon Jennies and their song By Way of Sorrow. You have come by way of sorrow. You have come by way of tears. But you'll reach your destiny, meant to find you all these years. All the nights that joy has slept will awake to days of laughter. All the tears that you have wept will dance in freedom ever after. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. The interlude is Wade in the Water, an African-American spiritual arranged by Mark Hayes, performed by John and Eva. As we start to close out this month of Sundays, where we've been talking a lot about resilience and remembering also that is Black History Month, I encourage you to keep exploring authors and speakers that you don't typically maybe engage and learn some new things before this month is over that you can carry into all the months that are coming ahead of us. And so, in that spirit, I leave you with these words from Maya Angelou. I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. Our final hymn today is We Are Climbing Jacob's Ladder. It's an African-American spiritual from about the time 1750 to 1875. It's believed that it was composed by a Liberian and other enslaved persons who intended, upon gaining their freedom, to return to Africa. The song portrays the power of the spirit in the face of continuous sorrow and trials. It's number 211 in the gray hymnal. The words may or may not be on the screens. Paul will give us instructions, I think. You may stand or sit, and if you're standing, feel free to stay standing while we close our service.
Your instructions are sing.
Up to extinguish our chalice, a couple quick announcements. One of them is that Interweave, the LGBTQIA and allies group, will be meeting today after the service in the back of the sanctuary. Take some time to get some coffee and snacks and chat with people before that. And then the other thing is Date with Death Club is meeting on the first Saturday of the month through May. So if that sounds interesting to you, our topic this month is about hospice care, palliative care, and end-of-life documents. So all of the sessions stand on their own. Feel free to come in Saturday at 10 a.m. and join us. It's not this coming Saturday, but the next one. I think that's it. So as we extinguish our personal and communal chalices, let's say our unison sending words. Our service here is ending. Our service to the world begins anew. Go in peace, friends.